All right, welcome back educators and parents to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into Lesson 9 from the Elementary Education Explorer. And today it's all about unpacking exactly how to teach the oi sound. If you've ever struggled to keep kids engaged during a phonics block, and let's be real, we all have, this roadmap is an absolute goldmine. We're going to walk through the exact steps provided in this curriculum, looking at how it beautifully blends those foundational literacy mechanics with a genuinely positive classroom culture.
So how do you teach the oi sound with absolute joy? We're actually skipping the standard dry overview today, because making phonics joyful isn't just some side note here. It's literally the entire anchor of the lesson. The creators designed this material around one big theme, that outstanding young learners enjoy discovering new sounds, reading new words, and just sharing that joy of learning.
And they nail this right out of the gate with the character corner, using a really powerful daily affirmation. I learn with joy every day. The curriculum explicitly notes that learning is just more exciting when we study with cheerful hearts and help each other out. By setting this positive tone from minute one, you're priming the students' minds. It establishes this wonderfully supportive environment before you even touch a single mechanic of the day's lesson.
But speaking of mechanics, here's how you introduce the actual sound to those outstanding young learners. You introduce the O and Y, not as separate letters doing their own thing, but as a vowel team, where the letters O and Y work together to make the oi sound. Framing them as a team is a huge help. It helps young minds grasp that these letters are partnering up to do a very specific job in the words they're about to read. Once that team is introduced, it's time to practice. The prompt here is super simple. Let's say it together. Oi says oi, oi, oi. Getting the whole class to chant this out loud turns a passive listening moment into an active, high-energy game. Honestly, add some fun hand gestures in there too. It completely reinforces the auditory recognition of the sound before they even look at full words.
Next up, we have our featured words: boy, toy, joy, enjoy, cowboy, oyster, and royal. Now, what's really interesting here, and this is a crucial tip to pass on to your kids, is the placement of the sound. Notice where the O and Y are located in words like boy, toy, and joy. You can point out that this specific vowel team is usually found at the very end of a word or at the end of a syllable, like in oyster or royal. Handing them this visual pattern recognition early on makes decoding just so much easier down the line.
Once they've got those isolated words down, we move into sentences to spark. Take a look at this. The cowboy rode his horse across the field. This brilliantly transitions kids into vital contextual reading practice. They aren't just staring at flashcards anymore, right? They are seeing the oi sound living and breathing inside an actual story. It sparks their imagination and shows them the immediate, real-world utility of the sound they just learned.
And check out this next sentence from that same section. Outstanding young learners bring joy to their classrooms. Do you see how it weaves the sound right back into the emotional core of the lesson? They aren't just doing mechanical reading practice here. They're internalizing a completely positive, affirming message about themselves. It ties all the way back to that character corner affirmation we talked about at the beginning. Just an incredibly thoughtful way to build confidence and character at the exact same time.
Now, after the group instruction, we shift gears to independent practice. And you've got to love the brilliant scaffolding in this practice progression. It guides the student step by step. First, read the words. Then circle the oi word among distractors. Step 3, fill in the missing letters. Step 4, match words to pictures to lock in the meaning. And finally, the highest level of mastery, write your own sentences. It is literally a masterclass in gradual release. No student gets left behind before moving up a level of difficulty. Let's zoom in on that third step for a second. Exercise 3 gives them fragments, like be blank blank, and they have to complete it to make boy, or cowboy blank blank for cowboy. By forcing them to physically write out that O and Y, you are cementing the visual spelling pattern of the sound directly into their brains. You're moving the learning from just their eyes and ears straight down into their fine motor skills.
Then, once they've practiced writing the team, you hit them with the sound sort activity. This is where they categorize a mixed list of words into correct columns based on spelling, separating the OI words from the OY words. They have to look at coin, boil, and join right alongside boy, toy, and enjoy, and physically sort them. Because let's be honest, English spelling can be absolutely maddening sometimes. This step requires some high-level critical thinking and forces them to confront the fact that two totally different spelling patterns can make the exact same sound.
And that brings us to the real climax of the lesson, the teacher's tip that reveals the secret code behind comparing OI versus OY spelling locations. Here's the key. OI is usually found in the middle of a word, like in soil or point.
On the flip side, OY is usually found at the end of a word, like enjoy or cowboy. Revealing this pattern to them, it's like handing over the keys to the English language. Suddenly, that whole sorting activity makes perfect logical sense.
To make sure they never forget that secret code, the curriculum gives us this phenomenal memory trick. OI is inside, OY is at the end. I mean, how catchy is that? This punchy, rhyming takeaway is the ultimate tool for your kids. It serves as a totally natural bridge between their past lessons on OI and this current lesson on OY. It ensures that when they go to write a word they hear, they can spell with total confidence. They just have to stop and ask themselves, hey, is the sound on the inside or at the end?
Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. We've seen how this curriculum uses daily affirmations, amazing structured scaffolding, and those incredibly catchy memory tricks to teach phonics. So, with this roadmap now in your toolkit, how will you inspire your students and build confident readers tomorrow? Seriously, how will you bring joy to your next reading lesson? Keep that question in the back of your mind the next time you step up to the front of the classroom. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.